You mentioned about data and being able to think about tools, and that's one of our tools that we could potentially use. I'd love to pick your brain about trends because there are many trends within the learning and development space, and I feel like there is a new one every single day. All we're currently talking about is AI, but a few years ago, it was talking about micro learning and then gamification and then talking about simulations. And like we always, every year, we seem to have a thing, and don't get me wrong, they all have their own place and time and purpose and whatever, but we do a great job of like hyping things up beyond all belief, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, what is this? And it's like that full deep dive into whatever. I'm guilty of that as well. If anyone has Googled me and see ChatGPT, you kind of know that I fall into this kind of early adopter bucket of technology and stuff. But when it comes to being able to think more about from a career perspective of you want to make sure that you are monitoring, you're aware of trends because they may pop up in interviews and applications and whatnot. How do you advise people to do this? And you yourself, how do you actually monitor that to know what's noise and what actually is something that potentially is here to stay?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I think I'll start with the last of it and kind of move our way forward. So for me, I like to monitor those trends. For me, I also spend like about 5% of my working time each year consulting. So like from a strategic learning perspective. And I do that, A, because I love to do it in small doses. And B, I also do it to make sure I keep myself in the game to know like what's going on out there too. So I can better help my clients. Same thing with my executive coaching clients. I'm working a lot on like, hey, what's happening in the organization, all of those trends. So for me, I get to explore some of those through other people, which is nice for me, and allow and kind of give them and say, hey, here's this trend that's happening here. This could help with what you're doing. But I think it's really important, and this is in career transitioning and also just with any new tool, is to ask yourself like, is this relevant to me and what I want to do in the future? So I think we can get really, really, really caught up in like the long list of technology we need to learn, the long list of trends that are coming up. But, you know, for example, if my role is to be a facilitator, let's say that's what I want to do, it's what I want to do 24/7, that's the job I'm looking to have. Do I really need to focus on utilizing ChatGPT right now? Probably not, right? I really want to focus on like how do I upskill and become the best facilitator? Does that mean that maybe there'll be some, you know, AI tool around, you know, giving me feedback? Those exist, right? So I think it's getting clear on like what is it I actually want to do, and then what tools exist to help me do that versus here's all these tools. Let me put myself into all these and get really overwhelmed. So I think it again goes back. It's again, I'll keep saying it. When you know your niche, it's really easy to say, oh, there's AI out there. Okay, well maybe ChatGPT isn't for me, but there's a cool AI tool that I can facilitate into, and it will give me feedback on my ums or my likes or those type of things. So I think getting really clear again on what you want to do next, the impact you want to have, and then what tools can complement that, what trends can complement that is a much better way than like, this is a trend, gotta learn it. That's a trend, gotta learn it. It's like trends in clothing. It's like if you're gonna buy every single thing, your closet's gonna be jam-packed and you're never gonna know what to wear. And I think the same thing with this, where it's like there's so many trends to try on. Well, which one feels good to you? Which one do you feel the best in? Which one accentuates what it is you want to accentuate? So thinking about it that way is how I like to coach my clients, because it does get very overwhelming with so many trends and so many things happen. Now trends are moving so much faster than they have in the past too. So I think just keeping that in mind. How do I make the trend will it accentuate, or is it something I can just let go? It's okay. You don't have to know every trend at all.
Exactly. I get asked like, how do I keep up with every trend? And I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
No idea. I can only do so much. Like,
and again, like we're just learning and development professionals, you know, like learning is learning. We go back, like, I think it's also too always important to go back to the basics, go back to the core. Like sometimes I was talking about this with some of my clients recently too, where it's like we put all of our pressure, especially career transitioners, put so much pressure on like knowing every tool, every trend, every piece of technology. But if you actually go inside of an organization, like 90% of organizations, like they're using PowerPoint and Camtasia and an LMS, and they're facilitating, and they're doing the best they can with what they have, and they're making really great blended learning programs and social learning programs. Like they're doing great work, but like they're not all like replaced by AI robots. So it's like, also remember, like 90% of organizations aren't even necessarily ready for those trends, and our learners might not be ready for those trends yet. Like we can't go beyond them because then it's going to be our learning's not going to be relevant to them anymore. We have to keep them in mind. Like, is this trend actually work for them?
Yes, which also I have now learned from terrifying people when I first was dabbling at Chat GPT back in December. And I was just like, look what it can do. And like a majority of people I showed it to were like, that's going to replace me. And I'm like, oh, I didn't think about it from that perspective. I just wanted to show you how this could potentially make you do your job in a more efficient way. It was like how I was envisioning it, where they saw it from the other side. It was like, mental note, try to be able to read the room a little bit better, Luke, before you're like, woohoo, like, look at this stuff. And it's like, I guess I need to think about that.